Welcome back to the Tech Zone. It's our final segment. Man, it has gone by so fast. And I'm so happy that you decided to stay with me. We kind of teased this in the beginning of the show. On this final segment, I'm going to be joined by a great friend of mine, one of my besties when it comes to tech journalism. What I really like about our next guest is that she really delves into the real stories in tech, not what this Uber CEO was doing, not what this person is doing, but really going in and diving deep to tech. You can tell that she's passionate about what she does and what she loves. And I'm so happy to have her join me right now. And joining me right now, yes, Manhattan is in the house. We're talking about one of my besties in journalism when it comes to covering tech, Samara Lynn. She just got promoted to digital manager of Black Enterprise Magazine. Still covering tech over there. What's going on, Samara? How are you?
Hey, Paul. I'm well. How you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. What have you been up to? Congratulations.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you so much. Just really kind of getting into my new position. Really just helping Black Enterprise make its transition to a full, rich multimedia digital platform. Some of your viewers may remember Black Enterprise. We've been around a long time, a 40-year history, seeing the magazine on their grandpa's coffee table. We still have that great legacy journalism and that great coverage, but we really want to jettison ourselves into the 21st century. So a lot of good stuff coming down the pike, and I'm keeping busy.
Hey, so tell me, making that change, how difficult is that, for our audience out there? Being a printed publication for many years and now making that transition. Talk about the challenges of doing that.
Well, we've had a website about maybe for the last 5 or 6 years. So we do have a presence online. But the challenge is that because this is such a legacy publication, there's so much content. We have so much archived content. So that poses a unique challenge because we want to be able eventually have anyone who come to the website be able to go back to an issue from, 1970 or 1980. So just the sheer amount of content we've, created all throughout these decades poses one challenge. And then, the other challenge, of course, is, building out and making a very scalable website. Right now, you always have to keep in mind mobile. You want to make sure your site's really responsive and fast. There's just so many factors that go into this type of project. But we have a good layout. We have a good roadmap. So I think, we'll meet the challenge. But it is it's an effort.
And, some of my viewers and listeners who known about you and I known each other for several years and me having you on. And they know some of your background. Some of them may just know you as the journalist tech writer, but your background when it comes to computing is amazing. And talk about that background.
Oh yeah, I've been in the trenches. I'm from crawling under desks and cabling to swapping out memory to setting up networks to configuring and deploying servers at the enterprise level. I like to think of myself sort of like some kind of like computer mechanic. I have tool sets and everything, and also do a lot of database administration. Pretty much anything you can think of except coding. I just do everything else.
And let's talk about that for a second. All your experience that you've had in the computer industry, has that served you well now in your new capacity? Your additional responsibilities now over at Black Enterprise Magazine?
Oh, definitely. And I think one of the reasons I'm so excited about this position, even though I love journalism, I love covering the tech space, I'm sort of, my IT skills are being fused now with being a journalist, which actually is the direction for anybody out there who's young, who's considering a career in media. That's kind of the way you have to go. You have to know some sort of web technologies, whether it's on Ruby on Rails or CSS or, HTML. And you have to know, a content management system. You have to know about SEO. You got to know about how to get on Google News. And because of my IT background and also the fact that I've ran my own website for a while, Smart Layers, I was able to take all that knowledge with my experience as a journalist, and I think I can really help Black enterprise with this endeavor.
Yeah, I think it's amazing. I remember when you told me about it, about your promotion and everything. I was like, what? What? I mean, that's super cool. And let's talk about, when it comes to like implementing these new kind of ideas when it comes to Black enterprise. And I'm glad you said that about archiving, because there's a lot of great stories that the Black enterprise have covered over the years, and it's nice that we're working towards the database where you can archive different articles and then pull it up. And has the readers out there maybe have brought that up to management and ownership, and that's why they say, hey, we got to do this to stay relevant.
Yeah, and I just want to clarify, all of our we have an archive on Google, where Google lets you create these archive, magazine libraries. So we do have that. But what we want to do is so you can find like some of our more historical covers and articles from like the 70s and the 80s and the 90s. But really, I would say within the last 10 years or so, we really wanted to make it easy for people to search on our website. And that's kind of what the piece that we're missing right now. And yeah, we do hear from some of our subscribers and readers. They want to say, hey, I want to find an article from, 2011 in September. Right now, you have this big archived, thing on Google, but really articles more recent like that, we want you to be able to go into a search field on our site and, you have that come up. So it's a work in process, but we hope to have that capability also when we go to our new website.
Because, people want to be a one-stop shop. They want to go to one site, get it done, and not have to go to Google and do that. We're kind of spoiled when it comes to that. All right. And so let's talk about some of the, stories you've been covering lately. Why did you pick those certain avenues to cover?
Well, we try to cover what's trending and what we think is relevant to our audience. And one thing I recently covered that I think is satisfies both is Bitcoin. I mean, have you been following the Bitcoin news, Paul? I mean, it's crazy.
Oh yeah, I should have bought some when I had a chance. If I would have bought $100 worth of Bitcoin like 7 or 8 years ago, I would be filthy rich, right? Hood rich, right?
Oh, you're not kidding. Matter of fact, the story I just covered is called the Digital Gold, the ABCs of Bitcoin, and it really it brings to light the question whether Bitcoin is a good investment for African Americans and whether it can help create wealth in our community, because that's what Black enterprise is all about, building Black wealth. And I really think it's something that's worthy to look into as an investment, as part of your asset management. Because one of the examples I cited in my story, there's this gentleman in Sweden. I think he bought like maybe $5 or $10 worth of Bitcoins. Go fast forward, not even 10 years, he was able to buy an apartment building for like $880,000 just from the ROI from those Bitcoins. And even right now, they just skyrocketed in value. I think they're over $2,000 per Bitcoin, and I think they're trending higher than gold, if I'm not mistaken. But I mean, it has been a wild ride with Bitcoin, and everyone's just waiting to see, is this going to crash? Is this just is this some kind of fluke? But I don't think it is. I think I talked to a couple of experts that I cited for my story, and I think it's for the long haul.
Well, I know it has the big bank scare, because I was reading something today how they want more debit card swipes.
Yeah.
So the big banks are like, hey, if people want to use these digital currencies, hey, just swipe your cards. That's digital currency. But I think Bitcoin. I remember several years ago when I was managing at another radio station, we had a block of shows and it was talking about Bitcoin. We had about 7 shows on there. And a lot of people were like, well, this is like, what do you call it? Snake oil at the time. But, I'm thinking I'm with you, Samara. I think if you're going to get on the bandwagon, get on it now, because, we know what happens. It's kind of like network marketing. If you get into it too late, you ain't getting no residual income. So I think it's time.
You don't have to buy a whole Bitcoin. You can buy fractions. Like I own $5 worth of one Bitcoin, and that already has gone up like exponentially in like weeks.
Wow.
So
now in your story and covering this, did you let ones know how they can be a part of it too? How did you
Sure. We actually break it down, the steps of how you acquire a Bitcoin. You go to like online Bitcoin exchange market. There's places like Coinbase. I think there's Bitcoin.com. There's quite a few Bitcoin exchanges, and you can actually set up like a PayPal account, and you can buy and sell chunks of Bitcoin or fragments of Bitcoin. And then what you do is you keep it in a digital wallet, a Bitcoin wallet, which is a secured site online. And of course, the beauty of Bitcoin is that it's peer-to-peer, it's stateless. There's no banks involved, there's no institutions of any kind. So you really have all these limited amount of Bitcoin servers around the world just mining this digital currency, and you essentially are tapping into that infrastructure.
I think the way technology is now, I think this is amazing. I don't know if you remember when we were at CES 2017 earlier this year. I remember there were a couple of companies talking about Bitcoin during this tech kind of mixer that I went to, and it's interesting. Some people, have, I guess, some issues when it comes to Bitcoin. What do you think is the what should ones really concern themselves with if they decide to invest in Bitcoin? Is there any concerns out there? Any kind of things they should be aware of?
Sure. I mean, yeah, there are risks, which we do address also in the article. And I would say there's two prominent risks. When I first wrote this story, our CEO, Butch Graves, he's the president and CEO of Black Enterprise. He, is a really savvy businessman, was kind of intrigued by this. And he said, well, the thing is, if the institutions are kind of backing away from it, it just doesn't sound like it's a real solid investment. And, he has a point. You're taking a risk. Today, Bitcoin is trending high. It's valued a lot. Tomorrow, it could completely crash and worth zero. So, if you're looking for a sure bet investment, it's not like, a mutual fund or bonds that are kind of safe. It's a risk. And then, of course, as with anything else online, hacking, it's so far, it seems to be a pretty secure, solid infrastructure, but digital exchanges, Bitcoin exchanges can and probably will be hacked or hackable. So it's, those are the two, I would say, biggest risks with this otherwise exciting technology.
Yeah, we got to watch out for the 400-pound guy sitting on his bed hacking, right?
Right, exactly.
So, another story that you talked about, it was a web browser and how they were going to, invest in Africa. Share that with us.
Yeah. Those Opera. You remember Opera?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it was like back in the 80s. They're like, well, maybe in the 90s, I would say. Opera was, kind of taken off as this web browser. I think Firefox was just coming around. But Opera really never made really any footing with as a desktop browser. But where it's really made its mark is in emerging countries. So, the African continent, because of their infrastructure or lack of infrastructure, everyone does most of their life and their transition on a mobile phone, on a mobile device. And Opera is the leading mobile browser throughout all of Africa. So what Opera is doing is, and what we also covered here, there's so much technology innovation, so many tech entrepreneurs coming out of countries like Kenya and Nigeria. And Opera sees this as an investment opportunity. So Opera just donated I think $100 million to create all of these technology advancements throughout the African continent. So you're going to have people, investing more in African businesses, really, expanding the mobile infrastructure, and just really it's twofold. It's helping the African nations prosper even further, and it's also going to be pushing more Opera adoption. So, yeah.
And that's one thing I like about what you write, Samara. You write about things that the mainstream is not writing about. I look at some of the articles out there of ones who are writing in tech, and it's always Microsoft. It's always this. It's never going deeper and deeper into what's going into the tech world. Where do you get your drive and determination from to really dig deep and to talk about things that a lot of people are not talking about, but are very informative for all of us?
Oh, well, thanks, Paul. Well, I think that a lot of, especially the Uber coverage, it's kind of sensationalized and it's like tech light. It's like, what kind of crazy thing did the Uber CEO do and say? Like, it seems like a lot of the tech media, the more mainstream media, they're kind of, it's like Silicon Valley gossip rags, because Silicon Valley has become this new type of celebrity. It's like this new type of Hollywood now, right? I mean, these
Absolutely.
CEOs are like superstars, like Mark Zuckerberg. People would absolutely go after him and ask for his autograph. And I think that if you don't have a real passion for the tech and like the hands-on, the gadgets, you probably can lose sight of that and just get caught up in the names. Where I love the tech, I love the gadgets. I mean, when you come here, Paul, I'm going to invite you to the office. You're going to see my desk. It's like a playland. It's like people come over. They're like, "What's that? What's that?" Because I like the stuff. So I think maybe, hopefully, that maybe that's a differentiating factor.
No, and it shows in your work too as well, because some of the things that you have written has just been off the charts and off the chain. And I remember when we first came in contact together when you were at another publication, and that's one thing that kind of I've always admired about you, just the way you cover things. It was more than just the fluff out there, and sad to say, in our industry, that's all people are doing. Is they just want the fluff. They don't want to get deep down and with the tech, the love of the tech, and the love of the tech game is, and some other stories that you have written about too. I mean, what's your latest story that you wrote about, hot off the press? What you got for us?
Well, I guess it would be the last thing was the Google I/O coverage.
Yes, let's talk about that.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a pretty wild time. That was what was that, last week now? And it's Google's annual developers conference, and I got to give a shout out to Google. Most of these big conferences, there were 7,000 people there, and there were like 100 tech journalists. And I mean, there were mega tech journalists like David Pogue, the former New York Times tech writer. He was there, and Google's the only company that really extends an invitation almost to anything to us as a little, small, independent, Black-owned publisher. And, not all of the tech companies do that. So I really want to give a shout out to Google for that, for realizing that diversity in technology extends to diversity, in tech media as well. So, but it was great. I had a great time.
Absolutely. Because, when I found out you were going, that's one thing I thought. I was like, wow, I'm glad Black Enterprise was represented there, because, let's face it, it's not a lot of faces like ours at some of these tech conferences, and that's why I'm loving the way that you're tearing down these boundaries and these walls, and then what Black Enterprise is doing, because the coverage was great. What were some of the highlights that you came out of after that conference?
Well, it's kind of funny because I was discussing the event with a bunch of the other journalists, many of whom I've worked with in the past. And I think the overall consensus was that it was kind of like the same, kind of what we heard last year. But now, instead of like, this is what we're coming out with, we're like, okay, we're really, really coming out with it this year. It's going to come out like next month. Like, I think it was more really, as like last year, was really about Google stepping up in the virtual reality space and the augmented reality and artificial intelligence and machine learning. Those are the four key announcements at Google. And we heard this last year, but they actually showed us like more fully fleshed out products. I'll give you one example. Google announced something called Google Lens. So now you have this Google Lens. It's a feature that integrates with Google Photos. So now you have your smartphone, right? And let's say you're at a marquee. You see at a theater, and you see the name of your favorite band. You can point your phone, and you can take a picture of that marquee, and Google Lens will recognize that as a band. And now with the Google Assistant, which is the device that they gave all the journalists, which of course is Google's answer version of Amazon's Echo with Alexa, Google Assistant, Google Lens talks to Google Assistant, and it'll say, oh, that's the band that you like. Do you want to play music? Do you want to hear music from Google Assistant? Do you want to buy tickets? Do you want me to put this show on your calendar? It's just this whole artificial intelligence ecosystem that Google is building with across all of its products. And that was pretty cool.
Yeah, it was. When I saw, the gift that they gave you, I was like, I am so jelly. I was like, goodness, I was just like jealous of no end. And what I thought was so cute, I really admire the relationship that you have with your pop. And and you put a post about your pop and one of his friends, and share that with us, please. I thought it was amazing.
They're just blown away by this Google Assistant. Matter of fact, it was my father's friend's birthday, and when I brought it home, and I said, "Okay, Google, sing Happy Birthday," and Google went, "Happy Birthday." They were like, "What? What?" And then my father was actually the weekend after. My father was looking for a car wash, and I said, "Dad, do you know where the car wash is?" Because I don't know. I said, "Google." I said, "What is the nearest car washes?" And then I asked him, "How late is it?" My father was like, "Get out of here." I was really, I said, "Dad, this is the future. You're going to have these artificial assistants when you walk into your home, and you're going to say, turn on the lights, set the, timer, order me pizza. You're just going to talk."
Wow.
Yeah.
I am like blown away. That is awesome. Samara, before I let you go, how can ones continue to follow some of these great stories that you and the team over there are doing now? What's the best way for them to connect?
Well, they can always read our stuff on blackenterprise.com, and absolutely, connect with me on Twitter at Samara Lynn, all one word.
Yes, and guys, never, ever, ever call her Samara. It's Samara, all right?
I've been called way worse than that.
Yeah, unless you're a country bumpkin, but don't be a bumpkin. Call her correct. It's Samara, Samara, not Samara. There's no diacritic over there, so don't mess it up. Hey, but always great catching up with you, my dear. Looking forward to catching up again, and thank you so much for joining me.
Oh, love it. Always a pleasure, Paul. Thank you.
That's the lovely Samara Lynn joining me, and congratulations. One of the hardest working people you'll know in the tech industry. Don't forget to follow her. Go to blackenterprise.com. Check out some of the stories, and catch up with her. Well, it's almost time for us to get out of here. But last week we talked about the Active 5. I've been working out with this right here. It's been amazing. I'm trying to get a lot more of my friends in the disabled community to jump on board with me. And if you would like more information about this, go to my website, paulamedeuslane.com. That's paulamedeuslane.com. And if you scroll down, you'll see Innovation Spotlight. Click on that link. You'll find out information about it. Or you can check out the interview I did last week with Leo Griffin, CEO of Active 5, on either YouTube or iTunes, whatever it is. Check it out. You can always check out the show archives. Yeah, you can do that. Hey, well, Sean is giving me the heads up, telling me it's time to shut my trap and get out of here. So until next time, I'm Paul Amadeus Lane, and don't forget, coming up, we'll be live at E3 2017. Thanks to our friends over at LiveView and what they're allowing us to do with the LiveView solo unit. You don't want to miss that. Take care of yourself. Talk to you soon.
Since we all about information flow, let me be the first one to welcome you to Tech Segment. Paul Amadeus Lane. Let's talk tech, cause technology changing the game. It's all good in the hood, it's everywhere. Now let's get to the show, cause we live on air, yeah.